Hello and welcome to the show, everyone. I'm JJ Flizanes, your host. Thank you for downloading today's episode. Today's show is going to be on intuition in business growth. Something that I know for me is high on my list of things I'm focusing on right now, and for many of you out there who want to live life differently in 2020 in terms of your business. I don't mean differently, we're all expanding. We want to live that expansion. We want to come from abundance, not scarcity. We want to live in that. We want to own that. We want to focus on collaboration, not competition, because it feels bad to think about competition. And I want to encourage everyone to build wealth, not at the expense of your health. So building health and wealth. And I wanted to remind some of you who've been listening for a while, I have another webinar coming up on Tuesday, November 12th. It is building health and wealth. And that is one of the reasons why we're having this show today. I got very inspired about a new idea that I have. That it's really not a new idea. It's the next evolution of what I'm currently doing with some of the teachings that I do at my live events and some of the teachings that I bring you here. So for anyone that's interested or feels called to build health and wealth, please go to jjflizanes.com/build wealth. And you can sign up for the free webinar there. And just like the others, there will be some free gifts that you don't want to miss when you come on over and attend live. So it's jjflizanes.com/build wealth. Today's conversation happened in person, which doesn't really happen on my show very much, but we had the opportunity and the time, and I took advantage of it. And Devi has the other end of the mic. And before we get into today's conversation, I wanted to give her a proper intro. She's such a dear friend and business colleague, and I really appreciate our relationship. And I thought you should know a little bit more about her. She has been on the show before. Devi Adea is a soulful speaker, author, coach, and conscious business strategist. As the host of the top-rated Spiritual Entrepreneur podcast and creator of the new popular podcast, Podcasters on Purpose, she shares her spiritual lifestyle and business insights also on Devi TV, the podcast. Devi moves entrepreneurs and leaders to embrace their soul's purpose and share their truth with the world so they can experience elevated freedom, fulfillment, and results in work and life. When she's not speaking on stage, serving clients, or interviewing bright lights in the world, you'll often find Devi doing yoga, enjoying music, or spending time with her husband and their 3 cats in their home in San Diego. Enjoy today's show. Welcome, everyone, to the show. I'm JJ Flizanes. Thank you for downloading today's episode. Today, I have a dear friend, Devi Adea. We are actually sitting in the hotel room. Does anyone even say motel anymore? We're in the hotel room at the Fairfield Inn and Suites in Capitola, California. We are on break from Michael Neely's event, Your Authority Blueprint Live. And I've been getting downloads and downloads of information. I've had a really interesting experience, and I got this overwhelming urge to want to record with Devi yesterday. And I said, hey, let's record a show. So Devi, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited for us to have this topic and share our experience, what's going on here.
Well, it's been a while since you've been on the show, and I've been on yours. We did a show exchange probably over a year ago.
Yeah,
it was the summer. Remember, it was super hot because you were in between. You were putting on the air conditioner, putting ice. You were like wearing ice around your neck or something. I remember.
I was melting.
You were melting, right? It was 2018. In the summer of 2018 was the last time you and I had a conversation like this. As I released this show, there was a formal introduction in the front of this, but why don't we tell people about your podcasts and remind them about your mission in the world?
Yeah, so I have a few podcasts. I have the Spiritual Entrepreneur podcast on Purpose, and then I also have Devi TV, the podcast. So there's 3 different ones, but really each show has a different benefit. Like the Spiritual Entrepreneur is really about bringing consciousness in business and talking about the things that happen that are more consciousness focused than just the tactics, although we do cover those. Podcasting on Purpose is where podcast and purpose meet. So really utilizing the platform of a podcast to help you to share and express that voice of your soul. And then Devi TV, the podcast is just the audio really from any videos I do. It's nothing super fancy yet. But really my passion is about helping people to realize the light of their own soul through the work that they do in the world. So I think each one of us comes into this life with a set of gifts and a unique mix and expression as our soul. And my passion and my experience of true fulfillment has come when I've expressed the truth of that in the world. And so I help people create podcast platforms where they can actually express that in a bigger way, and then build a, profitable business around that, utilizing consciousness practices as well as strategy and things that are more kind of grounded in the tactics of business. So
I think of our community, you and I are probably the most aligned when it comes to the sort of the spiritual aspect.
100%. Yeah.
And in case you didn't know, Devi's show and my show, Spirit, Purpose, and Energy, were both nominated for the Podcasters People's Choice Awards.
Yay, I know.
You got your trophy coming? I ordered mine. Did you order yours?
Oh, I probably should have. No.
Well, you have time. It's a last call. I can send you the email.
Okay.
And I chose to order a trophy, even though you and I both did not win, because it just represents the fact that we have a strong enough community to get us on the list. That when it came to who were the top 10 nominated, we were still on the list. So I wanted to buy the trophy for myself as a visual reminder of the strength of the community and the strength of the people's voice and what we're both up to in the world.
It's so beautiful. And, I plan to share this on my show as well. So on the Spiritual Entrepreneur. So I'm wondering if I know your audience knows you, but would you be willing just to do a little introduction too about you so that they get to know more about you?
Yeah. I've been a personal trainer for 20 years. And in that 20-year period, I went from the sciences of the body to the sciences of the other things we couldn't see. So anything from the endocrine system, the biochemistry of our food, to our mindset, and more of that. And I really hate that word, by the way. But the neurological and belief systems that we hold, to the astrological, to the spiritual, to law of attraction, and to how everything really beautifully comes together to create your life. And so while I started out as the Fit to Love podcast, I knew after 2 years it wasn't the right brand to represent all the different, very specific content that I was sharing with people. I set out to try to define where people and where the universe wanted me to show up in a powerful way. And I rebranded all the different days of the week so that I could see and test for real. What do people want from me? Where am I the most aligned and the most well received? And Spirit, Purpose, and Energy was the winner. And so I have stepped into really integrating mind, body, and soul and spirit, and really leveraging law of attraction for all of that. I've been studying it for years. I can repeat it probably like no one else except Abraham. I don't channel, but I understand it inside outwards, backwards, upside down. But I wasn't myself even living it back in 2011. So while I had studied at that point for 9 years, I could reflect and say, you know what? I'm not actually living it yet. And so I changed my life in order to reflect that which I truly do believe, and step into the belief part and the leverage part. And from that, everything else has continued to evolve and grow and expand, and as it continues to do so. So I guess my specialty would be really living the law of attraction in all aspects of your life.
Yeah, it's really beautiful to watch how you do that and some of the things you've created out of it. So
thank you. Well, today's show for me, the episode that I wanted to create that I know is of interest to you and your listeners as well, is intuition in business growth. Because you and I both have businesses, we both have podcasts, and what I really get enjoy about you and think you and I have in alignment completely is that you don't do things that do not feel aligned with you, even if 10 people are telling you you should.
Yep. When it's not aligned, oftentimes they'll be like, oh, you definitely need to do it. And I'm like, yeah, no, that's not happening. And after a while, sometimes I'll just be like, okay, and I'll ignore it, but it never happens if I'm not aligned with it. Either.
Right. Yeah, well, right. Both. Well, I had to get there because I did do the shoulds. I did do the look at that person, they're doing it well. Look at that person, they're making money, or it seemingly looks good. But when I actually tap into being in alignment and come at it from a frequency, a lot of people who I was studying with, that I've been in masterminds with, they might be making money, but their relationships were suffering, their health was suffering, they weren't taking care of themselves. And I just thought, that's not what I want to model. And I am only attracted to you for one aspect, and I'm looking for more than that. I want someone to embody and represent a lifestyle that I want to emulate and want to relate to. And I didn't see that in the world, and so I've been set on trying to create it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. And I think sometimes, like for me, the area that I've gotten stuck when I've not been listening to what it is that's right for me is when I get into this place of, well, what's normal? Because there's some part of me that hid my spiritual side for so long that I was afraid of not being normal. Like I was always trying to live into this normal life for a long time until later on I actually truly came out spiritually on iTunes and started to share more of who I am with the world. But for me, I think sometimes I will actually catch myself like, well, this doesn't feel right to me, but is that normal? And I have to just be willing to let go of what normal is to go with what feels right to me. Right. And I think that for me sometimes will catch me when I'm interacting with other people sometimes too.
Well, I think we all dip in and out of being in alignment. There are times where we're out of alignment. And I know for me, the first night, I believe we were here, or Monday night, I noticed something on social media that triggered me. Now, I'm going to need to find a new word for triggered, because when I say triggered, I really mean for people like having a PTSD moment where you're maybe crying or hysterical or super depressed. I don't ever get that way anymore, based on the work that I've been doing in the world and with myself and having help from others. But I got a little that ping. And so the ping is enough for me to be uncomfortable when I notice that I'm in scarcity, when I see something and I go, now, why did that happen? Or I'm short-sighted and I have my focus on something that I think I want or someone that I want to enroll, and then I see them go to someone else's program, and then I go, wait a minute, what are you doing? And I really had a hard time with the fact that I had felt scarcity, because literally I'm stepping into wanting to lead with abundance, not scarcity, focusing on collaboration, not competition, and of course building wealth without sacrificing your health. And here I am, boom, I got into scarcity for a minute. And after I worked it out, I was sort of making lists and I was tapping on it and I was grounding and I was really just trying to put myself in a space to make peace with and understand the contrast. I'm having a conversation with you and you're telling me some of the things that your mind was blown about how to leverage other joint ventures and things. And the minute you started speaking, and I think it was probably your frequency, your frequency allowed me to get instant clarity on something else I've been thinking about, but I had no idea what the direction was going to be. And I got this ginormous download that rocked my world and made so much sense and clarity and direction that other thing I was thinking about was like, oh, that's nothing. Like, that is nothing. And again, this is all based on intuition. Yeah. Nobody was in my ear strategizing or making a plan. Well, other than source and spirit was in my ear and my higher self was in my ear. But I thought we need to talk about this because this is how I want to lead. This is how I want to be. I know this is how you lead and this is how you want to be. And so let's talk about the times where, for me, I was out of alignment in that moment. But that contrast was like a bouncing off place. It was like a boomerang. Like I was in this space and then I don't know, somehow I was open to receive a whole new download that literally you're all going to be so excited about. Those of you in my community, those of you that have been telling me and asking me for certain things, it's the direction. We're not going to change course. I'm going to amplify something that I've been doing that I can kind of coin as mine and really expand it and make a bigger difference. And so that's coming later. But Debbie, for you, what do you do or how do you know when an idea is coming to you, how to follow it, or when you're in scarcity or you're in fear or you're out of alignment? How do you know that this is a moment that you're having that you probably shouldn't listen to the thoughts that you're thinking because you're not in that space? And then what do you do about it?
That's a great question. So can I just speak to something you were saying earlier, because something's coming in for me? I think too, when we choose to step into something new, the old, like whatever, like the universe gets us to question, is this really what you want, by giving us an expression of the contrast. And I think what happened when you and I got together, it wasn't my vibration only. It's we went from scarcity into love instantly. We had a complete consciousness connection because our vibrations vibrate together like that. And I think that's what opens the portal when you're around community too, of people that are in alignment with you in a vibrational space. And you just saw the contrast so quickly because you're so intuitive and present, right? Like you got to see it really quickly happen. So I think that's what happened.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, all I know is that it wasn't even about what you were talking about. Yeah. I was present listening to you, and then I literally got hit on the side of the head with this very clear direction, path, and purpose, and went, oh my God. And I get them sometimes, but I just had to notice because you were with me and you were present, but it was an intuition, and not everybody operates in business from their intuition. Some say they do, but they fall prey to the shoulds and the would've and the could've and should I have this and do, if I'm a real business, I should have these things. And I know you don't operate from that, and I don't either. And I want us to share that So continue to answer the second question.
So answering the second question. So for me, I come from what I call a clair family, right? So people that are clairvoyant, clairaudient, clairsentient. So I grew up around a family where literally they'd be like, reach in the cabinet and be like, hey, can you get me that thing? And I'd be like, oh, and I would know what they wanted. Or my mom, we go get a Christmas tree. I want the green one over there. Okay, now most people are like, what are you talking about? But just the way that we communicate and connect is on a very deep intuitive level. And there's just, that's part of how we do things. So for me, I receive information in different ways. So some people I think will, see images, some will hear, some will have a feeling. Some people have a mix of those things, right? Where you just some people just know and they don't know how they know, they just know. And those are all different, obviously, clear gifts, like clairvoyant, clairsentient, clairaudient, claircognizant, right? So for me, usually what happens is I start with a feeling where I feel like something is either like pulling me towards it or pushing me away from it. But I also get flashes of insight where I'll see like an image or a picture come in, or I'll have like a whole like video of what's coming, like playing in my head with like clear instructions in an auditory way in my own mind. So it's true for me when I'm around people like you, JJ, that it's easier for me to receive that because vibrationally I'm not having anything that's conflicting that's giving me other signals than maybe when I'm in a room where I'm with people that I'm not as aligned with, maybe and vibrationally, where I'm getting a lot of other things kind of sent to me that I'm also receiving a lot of downloads for. So for me, typically I'll get that kind of feeling first, and then I go into those other places and I check in. And if it's really strong and if I don't listen, what I find is then usually my life will reflect it back to me kind of quietly, a little more loudly, and then a little more loudly until I get it. And so hopefully I'll hear it the first time, and I try to do that. And then the other thing I do a lot of times, if I have a question or something that I'm wanting to figure out or work on, water does something for me, and I don't totally understand it, but I call my shower my little it's my advisory portal, if you will. I literally will ask a question of what's something I need some intuition and guidance on in my business. I get in the shower, let the water run over me. I walk out and I have the answer. And I have no idea how that happens for me, but it's just one of those places where if I'm not clear, I can go in there and find my answers. Do you have the same experience?
I know people that do. Mine is not the shower, although I do get shower ideas.
Yeah.
I think my ex used to talk about shower ideas. He coined that phrase because it would actually wash off any resistance or negativity. Mm-hmm. So I think that's part of it. I do know people who, water is so healing. It's really putting us into alignment with what we're made mostly of. So if we think about that, we're made, we're more than 50, 60% water, our bodies. And now we're sort of coming into that clarity and purity of water. Hopefully, if the water is clean, right? Coming to the clarity and purity of water, which is really, again, attuning us to receive in a different way.
Yeah. For sure. And I think there's some part of me too that almost just like it relaxes my conscious mind somehow. Like, I love how you're saying that it's what we mostly are made up of, because I don't actually always think about that, but it is true. Like it's like, I don't know if it's like electricity runs through a conduit. I kind of wonder if water is also that conduit for me anyway. It's one of those places. Or this is going to sound kind of weird, but if I sit on the toilet too sometimes, it's like my mind, I don't know. There's water under me, but yeah, there's something about that. It's just a place of.
Well, okay. So if you're on the toilet, we're going to definitely label this as an E show, only for the visual there. But you're opening up a channel.
Yeah.
Really like you're letting things release. You're letting things come out. You're letting things that literally waste of your body in all forms come out. Mm-hmm. Things that the body is rejecting or done with and getting rid of. And so, again, that is a channel. It might not be a channel we think of in a spiritual way, but anytime we're moving energy in our body, we definitely put us in some kind of frequency. So I would say maybe that's a what can I let go of?
Yes.
Which then creates space for what am I needing now, right? So now there's an open space because now you're less blocked, right? Okay. It's a poop story. Where's Rachel when you need her?
Out tuition. No.
There you go. There you go. Well, what do you have any practices that you do when you're having either contrast or let's say maybe you're off a little bit and you want to get back into alignment?
Yeah. So for me, water is obviously a good thing. It shifts my energy, but anything that really puts me in a different state. So I'll either shift my focus if I'm talking to someone where I will start to focus in on the light of their soul. So like, let's say I'm having a conflict with someone. A lot of times I'll connect in, I'll kind of go past the personality, past the thought plane with them. And then I literally will focus in on the center core of the light within them. And then I just kind of ignore the rest of whatever that is. And I put my focus and attention, obviously law of attraction, we attract what we focus on the aspect of the light of their own soul, which is the greatness inside of them. I call it living namaste. So, if you think of namaste, we bow to the light and we greet the light and honor the light in another. The light in us does that. That's what the greeting means. The light inside of me honors and acknowledges the light inside of you. So I'll do that. And then a lot of times if there's something that I'm just so triggered by and I'm having a hard time doing that, I'll just acknowledge that that's there. And then I'll turn my focus 100% to some aspect of what I would consider to be like love or light or the divine or some beauty, like whatever raises me in my own vibration. I'll turn away from the appearance and focus on that. And the appearance changes because we're creating it. And so I find that that's a really easy way to do that. And if I'm feeling stuff in my body, sometimes I have to move. So singing for me is something that makes me feel better. Like I used to have a list years ago, which was like my state changing list. So I had like singing, hot bubble baths, rolling down a hill, hula hooping, like anything that made me feel better. And those were my things that I would do that were kind of positive, that made me feel better and put me in a different vibrational alignment with what it is that I was creating. But now I usually don't have time to go hula hoop or roll down a hill. I mean, maybe I could, but my experience of my life is that it's pretty full. So for me, sometimes I'll sing or I'll get in water, like a bubble bath, or I'll just do that. And I'll shift and I'll do a little meditation for 5 minutes or something.
Was there a time you didn't listen to your intuition in business?
Oh, I'm sure it's many, many times. Yeah.
Well, let's take the pivotal moment that
Okay.
you recognized you were not, like maybe you were shooting yourself. You were following a path that wasn't fully in alignment with you for a reason that came out of scarcity or fear.
Okay. So early on when I left, I at one period of time, I left corporate. I went and I did coaching for a transformational leader in his company. And I ended up leaving there, and I was married to a person. We were having some challenges. Let's just say that. And our finances were really tight. We were having a tough time with that. And there was someone that I had worked with who had worked in, who was doing what they call a private placement hedge fund. Okay. Now I have a strong logical brain and a really good intuitive side. So, I mean, I used to work in high tech, so I can do a lot of things that require logical, but they're not necessarily, they're excellence. They're not genius for me. And so I went and I took my Series 65 and 66, and I was starting a private placement hedge fund. Like I was literally going to do this and get investors. And I had gone to India and helped to get some investors for this other person. And my whole body was a whole body no. Like there was no question that it was something I shouldn't do. And I ended up going to India, and I don't think he got the deals that he wanted, and he was really upset, and it was like affecting our friendship. And I was looking at doing the private placement hedge fund, and I was like, this is not for me. So I would kind of had gone down the road, and it cost me quite a bit of money because obviously it's a lot of investment of time and energy. Luckily, I stopped early enough on that I didn't have investors that came in and that kind of thing. But I could see if I were to future pace that, if I hadn't listened, where that could have taken me in a really negative direction, and it would have totally brought me off path of what I'm here to do. So, but yeah, usually I don't know if it's the manifesting generator thing or what it is, but usually I get a little bit into it and I'm like, okay, I'm clear. That's not for me. I may take a couple steps in that direction, but if I don't listen, I think things that are not good will happen. So
I'm a manifesting generator too.
Of course you are.
And with business, I can't think of, like, I have a personal, like with, you were with me, and we will talk about this at another time, with me in the hospital for my most recent physical, which is more than just physical, actually, because I really believe now, as my story continues to unfold, that I was supposed to go through this because I needed to be a light and a way shower and a saver of certain body parts for women, because even when I walked in with as much information as I have and how much pushback I got from institutions where I have literally like really similar information, and I wasn't the person who was asking for help or guidance. I was literally just asking for a service, and super clear that I knew what was happening. And so in that way, when I was first told by a very spiritual medical intuitive to go down the path of surgery, after a while I thought, okay, and because I listened to her. But after 3 different appointments, and you'll all hear about this, I'm going to actually make this into a book, and it will be many chapters will be podcasts, and they're going to be in the new Inner Circle membership, which is going to be launched in December. Because it's too much to put into one show. It's too much to put into 2 shows. It actually needs to be a series because there's too many lessons. So for anyone that has a similar condition that I did and was looking for alternatives and answers and progressions, I'm going to get very detailed. And so just FYI for those of you that are wondering, well, JJ, when are you going to tell us about this? I'm not going to tell you all about it right now. I'm going to give you parts and pieces for the reason of reflecting on your own life. I decided to trust a medical intuitive over my own intuition in that moment. Not that I had a strong intuition yet. I just thought, I trust you. If there was a way, you would have figured it out. One person. And mind you, by the end of this, I'd worked with 4 different people. But that person said, to have surgery was the best choice. And so I then went off and met with person after person, probably had 3 surgical consultations, cried hysterically at every single one of them. And by the 3rd one, as I was getting ready to schedule the surgery, and literally couldn't stop crying, like I'm talking hysteria, not like holding back some tears, like outwardly hysteria. I went, hold up. This is my body telling me that you do not believe that this is the right answer. Because if it was the right answer, I would feel relief. And so I want to put that out there for those of you, because as Devi was saying about her body, she had a whole body like shut down. Your body is going to tell you if it's the right answer. Throughout this event and others, I will take on the, okay, body and intuition and subconscious, is this the right next step for me? And I will place it on me and see how it feels. And there are very successful people who I'm surrounded by who are doing wonderful things in the world. And when I look at their model and think about emulating it, my body shrinks and goes, it's too heavy, it's too much, it's not the right thing, it's not the right time. And that is literally how I use my intuition to decide what is the next right thing for me. Even in a yearning, pulling kind of way, like what I stepped into after the manifestation boot camp was a brand new offering that I've never done before. Yet my body was telling me it's the right time. This is the time for you to go. So you really, even when your logic brain comes in and says, this person who I trust said I need to do this. And I went, okay, let me go look at doing this. I realized after that 3rd consultation and 3rd time hysterically crying, and then finally going to a doctor who actually told me I was fine and didn't need to have surgery, that I could live like this for the rest of my life and it would eventually change. I thought, okay, she finally asked the right questions and I got different answers, and I trusted her and I liked her, and I was still hysterically crying, but it was like, okay, I can't deny this anymore. How many more times do you have to show up in front of somebody who's giving you an answer and your body tell you it's not the right answer? Mm-hmm. So you have to be careful giving your power away to those who you think are smarter, more successful than you, happier than you. It has to resonate with you. And I've talked about that a lot on my show. I have a whole episode dedicated, does that resonate with you? And it's not that it's a bad idea. It's not that it doesn't work for some people. Is it right for you right now?
Yeah, I love it you're saying that, because I think a lot of times we will intellectually think something is right because someone else says it's right, but it's your whole, I like to call it a whole body no. Your whole body is like a no, or your whole body is a yes. Those are really clear indicators. But there's a time where maybe you're getting like a subtle yes or no and you're not really sure. And if you're an empath at all, so if you have that kind of where you feel other people's feelings, for me, I have to get my own space and my own energy to be able to hear, oh, wait, that's not mine. That's theirs. And that's their truth, and that's great. But this is my truth. So I even a lot of times need to give myself like 24 hours on big decisions where I remove myself because I'm highly influenceable, like because of I feel other people's feelings. And I'm like, oh, that's really exciting. Oh my God, I totally want to do that. And then I'm like later, That's so not exciting. That was someone else's excitement. Do you have that too, JJ? Do you experience that?
I do. It's funny because that's what I was just thinking of. A fellow podcaster who we both know at this event turned to me and said something about me being a perfectionist. Or somebody said, so for the perfectionists, and she looked at me and she says, JJ. And I literally was like, what? You think I'm a perfectionist? And then I stopped for a second. Now, mind you, I don't think I'm a perfectionist, so I wasn't triggered by it. I was intrigued by it. Yeah. And so I turned to Doug. Now, I definitely probably had a facial expression. I turned to Doug and I said, she just called me a perfectionist. Do you think I'm a perfectionist? And of course, my face probably said no, but he said no. But of course, he lives with me. And but he said no, not at all. And that was into that. And then I asked you, but I was very careful to not indicate the facial expression to say, Devi, do you think I'm I tried to make it a little bit more neutral. Do you think I'm a perfectionist? And then you took a beat and you thought about it and you said.
Yeah. And I said, no, you have very high standards and you have really good boundaries, but you're not a perfectionist. So
I asked two people that know me pretty well. And then I turned to the person and I said, can I ask you why you thought I was a perfectionist? And without even taking a beat, I could have literally guessed her sign.
Yeah.
She's a Virgo. I think she was projecting it onto me. And I asked her why she thought that. And she said, because you edit your own shows. And I thought, that makes me a perfectionist? Do you listen to my show? Like, it's not perfect.
Well, yeah. And that was something I said to you. I was like, you probably would do way more like on the perfectionist part of the editing and like having everything exactly how it needs to be on a web. Like there's so many things you could do that a perfectionist would do to make everything absolutely perfect. And I know people who do that. They're like, oh, I can't have someone else edit my episode because it has to be perfect. And I was actually a little bit like, it's not on the downbeat when they're doing my intro and this and that. And I had to give that up to podcast. So I know what perfection can feel like. And no, you're just awesome with high standards and really good boundaries.
Thank you. The reason why, by the way, I edit my own show currently, and I don't edit, currently Health and Wealth is being edited by somebody else because I knew that if I was going to do that, it would never get up. And so that's getting ready to launch here before the end of the year is my definite goal. But the reason why, and those are not as personal on these shows. I want to be careful and respectful. I can get into a momentum, especially in talking about relationships. I don't want to overdo it in an area where I'm affecting somebody else in my life and give too much information. Because when you come to my events or when we're in person together, I'll tell you the whole story about everything. But I have to be careful because that affects other people's lives in my history and in my sphere of influence, so to speak. So I may regret saying something in the heat of the moment as you and I are talking, forgetting that millions of people are listening to this episode. So I will edit that stuff out.
Yeah.
I also edit out maybe if I'm incorrect about a stat or a medical bit of information in nutrition or exercise. If I've misspoke or I got my wires crossed, I'll take that out because it wasn't accurate.
Right.
But for that, I'm not, that's the reason why and there's no one I can train to do that currently, but I will eventually. I do see the future as that needing to change a little bit. But anyway, but it was interesting and fun to be an observer, to hear her say that. But I also knew she was projecting a little bit because there's not enough information to know that even if I was a perfectionist to like make that kind of judgment call. So I felt like she kind of projected a little bit onto me.
It's true. Well, and here's the thing about you two, like you're very good at staying in your truth. So I know you're going to share this on air about your experience with, your healing and everything that you did. But I really enjoyed watching how you advocate for yourself and how you know what's right for you and what's wrong for you. And you speak that like you're like lovingly, strongly speaking it like it's fact. Right. And I think that that's a huge gift that not everyone has. And I feel like that helps a lot too with following your intuition in business and in life, to be able to be like, no, I know this is right for me. I know this is wrong for me. And it's a no or it's a yes, So I love that. That's a page I could take out of your playbook for sure on how to self-advocate more. Yeah.
Well, in the health space, I'm not
amazing.
I'm not coming at this uneducated.
Right.
And that's where Suzanne Summers wrote a book. She wrote a book called Breakthrough, and the medical clinic that I work in, the functional medical clinic, they're mentioned in that book. So it's Nourishing Wellness Medical Center in Redondo Beach. Jeannie Peters has been on the show a million times. Dr. Alan Peters has been on the show before. I'm a huge advocate for functional medicine. Suzanne came out with another book very quickly after Breakthrough because she had an incident where she went to, she was actually gardening. I think she had a hard time breathing. She went into the hospital and they diagnosed her as having stage 4 cancer, lung cancer. Anyway, this whole story is the beginning of Knockout. That's the next book that came after Breakthrough. And I thought, wow, she really plowed through another book super quickly. And I went to the bookstore and I read just the intro, and the intro is enough to really, and I'm going to probably have to do that in my book or refer to it, because she had written books and books and books, interviewed doctors and doctors about all these different things. And she even got convinced, and she didn't have it, by the way, she was misdiagnosed by 3 different doctors that she had lung cancer.
Wow.
So this is why she wrote Breakthrough, because she was so motivated to help people not let doctors take your power away, even when you're someone of an educated status. And I think I'm pretty darn educated in this field of the health and wellness conversation, and I never let them take my power away, but they all tried to over and over again. And I thought, this is so interesting. And so later there will be an interview with Devi and also Amy Schuber, who was there with me at the hospital, who watched this happen, and Doug was with me in an appointment. And I want to have that outsider experience so that people really know that I wasn't a crazy person, that I wasn't disrespectful, that I wasn't whatever, gets attached to that. Because some doctors, if you're a physician, probably not listening to my show, but if you're a physician and you have a physician ego and someone does not agree with what you're telling them, then you label them as resistant, as nuts, as stubborn, as we get all these negative judgments about me showing up for me. But I'm allowed to disagree with you, and I understand that you're a physician and a doctor, but you also have a point of view, and I have a different point of view, and mine's valid because mine's mine and it's my body. And at the end of the day, that's what I want to empower people to do, is just, it may not be right for you right now, but I literally for the last couple of years have waited for my body to tell me when it was the right time to get some kind of procedure if I needed it. And I kept checking in. I will do the surgery if my body tells me it needs the surgery. And it never, ever did. I needed intervention, but I didn't need surgery. And that's what I trusted. So that intuition is, whatever your path is, I believe, in all aspects of your life, there's information you don't know that you learn from other people. There's belief systems that definitely need to be changed or purified. If there's limiting beliefs, we want to definitely look at that, because there are times where something won't feel right to you, but it's because of your limiting belief. And cleaning that up allows you to expand, making it come again from abundance, not scarcity, from love, not from fear, really wanting to look at what is the root of this feeling and checking in with that. So let's speak to that, because I think a lot of times somebody will say it's not right for me, but that's just a cover up for the fear that they feel or the disbelief in themselves or the project.
I'm really glad you're bringing that up. So one of the things that I do a lot when I'm working with people in my coaching and things like that is I will early on figure out what is your truth center, because I think each of us has a way that we find truth. So it could be, like I said, I feel, I see, and I hear, right? Each one of us has it. Some people say it's a gut response. I always know when I go with my gut that it's the right thing for me. Or some people will be like, you know what? There's this voice that sits on my left shoulder that I hear. And when that speaks to me, I know it's the thing. So whatever that is for you, I would really encourage you to identify whatever that is. If you're listening in today, and you're like, I wonder what mine is, just feel into when you make a big decision or you're having something, start to pay attention to those subtle signs of how that truth shows up for you. And get a clear formula, because we each have our own unique one. Mine's not going to be the same for you as it is for JJ, and JJ's isn't going to be the same for me as it is for you. So find that. And then when you have those moments when you're meeting resistance, when you're doing something and you're like, oh yeah, that's not for me, look and see, just a little litmus test. Is it coming from your truth center? Is it coming from that formula you know is your truth? Or is it coming from a different experience in either your body or in something that's happening? And you'll find, I'm going to just guesstimate here and fortune tell on this a little bit, that if it's coming from fear, it's not coming from the same place. And it'll be easily identifiable that it's not coming from that truth center. It's coming from some other place. Do you agree with that, JJ? What's your experience of that?
So I've learned to change some of the language around certain things. And let's say, for instance, a friend of ours, a new friend of ours who's very successful, the way in which she goes about her business and the kind of the shoulds that I know she projects, even though she may not say you should do this, but it's almost like this is the right way to do it. I literally was just open, and I just asked myself, just stay open and put it on, try it on, just like you're doing when you're shopping. So I literally tried it on energetically, sat with it for more than a day, and then really thought, no, it doesn't feel right yet. I'm open to the possibility of it being right at some point, but right now it feels heavy. It feels like I feel stressed thinking about it. It doesn't feel like a fit. So I've learned how to, for me, just be open to that I can be wrong, and but it's not now. All I know is what's going on for me right now. And so if it makes me feel lighter, my body feels lighter, I feel an energetic pull, or, my first event, the first Releasing What Weighs You Down, there was a product that I really loved, and I wanted them to be a sponsor. And since they've actually gone out of business, and I talked about this product and I sold it on, I sent everyone to Amazon to buy it when I was using it. And I made a joke at the event, if they don't reach out to me by the next event, I'm going to make it myself. And I was kidding. And then about 2 weeks later, I was taking a walk, and I got to the top of the hill.
I hear you. No.
I got to the top of the hill and I went, holy shit. I'm going to make this product. I had no idea how, I had no idea when, but I was clear, I'm going to make this product. And so I went down the path of trying to do it myself at some point, came up against enough roadblocks or difficulty that I thought, okay, I'm going to put this down right now. And since then, someone else has approached me about taking the whole thing on. But here it was that I was kind of joking. And then I got, again, the download. I was walking. It's always when I'm exercising. See, if nothing else, people just exercise. Because when you're doing cardio and you're in flow and positive momentum, like stuff comes in. And so it came in and I went, oh, I literally stopped dead. And I think I was listening to music. I just stopped and thought, holy crap, I'm going to do this. I don't know how and when, but I know in my ability, I trust in my ability to learn. So for me, it's just changing the words, because oftentimes when something scares us, we have resistance to it and we put it in denial. So we feel safe and we stay in our little box, but it's having the ability to realize I'm stopping myself from growing because I'm afraid. Actually, my last event that I gave someone some tough love. I love you, know who you are, and everyone in the room, you know who I'm talking about. But when you have a tough decision to make about your life, and you're so afraid of the answer to that decision, you often want to continue to tell yourself that you actually don't know what to do. So you're lying to yourself to keep the confusion as a barrier to the fear you're feeling about the answer to the question you need to ask. So I lovingly said, stop lying to yourself. You have to stop being in confusion because it's affecting every aspect of your life. Just be honest. You know what you need to do and it scares you. Just say, I'm not ready yet. But own that you do know, and stop creating this shield of confusion, which is a lie, and it keeps you stuck in every area of life.
That's really powerful, especially I think when you are in that place too, where you're like choosing someone else's voice over your own, like that voice of your soul, when it's telling you and you can hear it and and you're like, that terrifies me. So I'm going to focus on this other thing or that other thing over there, whatever. Like, take some time, put yourself in exercise if that's what you do. Or if you're like me, go take a shower. And
okay, but Debbie, how many showers are you going to take?
I know exactly. Well, I live by the ocean. I don't know.
This is true. You can always go to the ocean.
I go to the ocean. That works too. But whatever it is for you, like put yourself in that space of and do what JJ just said. Like really own your truth, own what's real for you. And I think making it a practice. I think a lot of times we do these things one off, and the best thing you can do is to have a practice where you check into your truth center and you stay connected and you put yourself in community, like JJ and I were talking about at the beginning of this, where, ideas come in. I think JJ, you'd said something at the event you were sharing, that putting ourselves in this space where we're in community that is of like resonance and vibration is a place where we step into having those divine downloads that really guide and direct our lives. So putting yourself in this space and just being really honest with yourself. Would you agree with that? Is that...
Yes. But I would also caveat that be honest with yourself, but know that when you're honest, it doesn't mean you have to take action yet.
Yes. Good
And
point.
that's where people aren't ready to take action. So they try to stay in confusion and they tell themselves the lie of I don't know what to do, so that they don't have to make a decision, because they think when they have clarity, they have to take action.
Yeah.
I just told you that I'm making a product and I knew I was going to make it. I just got another download with Devi yesterday that was like life changing, and I'm not ready yet.
Yeah.
But I know where I'm going. So I'm going to allow it to unfold at the pace that it needs to. But at least I'm clear now of some of the steps that need to happen. But I'm not feeling anxiety or scarcity in that they have to happen tomorrow.
Yeah, that's powerful. Mm-hmm.
So today's show was really focused around intuition. I wanted to put it in the tune of business growth. Of course, we talked about health things. You could even use this in relationships. It's the whole 9 yards. And, we both support people to do that. And so I wanted to give the floor to you and see if there's anything that you would recommend on your side, the way that you support people, that you have for them to go to check out, whether it be your podcast or if there's some kind of free offer that you have.
Yeah, so I just actually recorded the Consciousness Upgrade Masterclass. It's hopefully going to be on my website by the time we actually put this out. But you can listen into it. So here's the thing that I truly believe. I believe that whatever we have going on in our life that is it's creating divine discontent for us, whatever that is, in the experience of it, whether that's an intuition on a way we're supposed to go or not go, whether it's, something that we're sticking with that's really not in vibrational resonance with where we're really supposed to be. The easiest way to shift it is to have a shift in consciousness and vibration. And I know JJ does that through law of attraction, which is a beautiful way to do it. And this is just like a class that talks about the same kind of thing from just a different vantage point, probably. So if you'd like to check that out, I'd love to share it with you. It's 100% free. So you can just go to deviadea.com. And if it's not there yet, it will be soon.
It probably won't be, because I'm literally going to put this out on Tuesday.
Oh, okay.
This is Tuesday. So I'll put your in the show notes. I will put your link.
Okay.
But what else do you want to send them to in the meantime before it's available?
Yeah, if you're on JJ's show, just check out my show, spiritualentrepreneur.com. You can listen to a lot of episodes. You receive a lot of great information. And JJ has an episode on there too, if you want to listen to that I think would be a really exceptional thing for you to get to enjoy. So you can check that out on the show at spiritualentrepreneur.com. And if you're just looking to have a conversation and you're wanting some support, and you're not working with JJ for whatever, or JJ's amazing. So how do we say this?
No. This is a collaboration or competition.
Yeah.
Someone's going to hear your voice and be like, maybe they like me, but they love you, and I want to support that.
And vice versa. So you can always send an email to support@deviadea.com if you just want to have a conversation about that, or if you're wanting to launch your own platform for expressing the voice of your soul, you can always send an email or check out podcastonpurpose.com.
Yeah, I have an episode on there too.
She does. And she's super good in all of those areas when it comes to, all of the stuff that she does in the spiritual space and the health and wellness space, consciousness space, law of attraction space, and tech space and business space. She's just exceptional. And she's just a wonderful friend. So I feel very blessed to have her in my life.
You're my family.
Yeah, I know. It's the whole family. I know she's a sister.
Family.
Just saying.
Well, thank you for all of that. Someone at my event said she was so happy. She was so blessed that I made a change in my brand, because she wouldn't have found me otherwise. She never would have found me under the first brand. And that was a totally intuitive thing where people in the industry were like, no, follow that path until success. Follow that path until success. And I'm like, no, my intuition is super clear. They can't find you. So you need to change the brand. And that is when everything really hit on all cylinders, was when I listened to that, which is why I have so many shows that people think, oh, you're crazy. But hey, I started a trend as far as I'm concerned. I was the only one with all these shows, and now all you guys have all these shows too, and everyone's starting podcasts.
How many is it that you have now?
I don't know. 9. I don't know.
When you lose count, you have a lot of shows.
I have a network.
Yeah, she's a network.
I have
Let's
a
be
network.
clear.
And so do you.
Yeah.
We all do. And those of us who have more than one show, because, we have voices that we want to help reach people. And so with that, one of the things that I'm doing.
Yeah. Where do they find you?
JJFlazanes.com and you can go to, there's a podcast tab and it'll show you all the different current shows with links to Apple Podcasts, with Spotify. I'm now on Pandora. I don't think I've even updated that. Actually, Pandora is the best place to find me, and Spotify. But what I'm going to be launching, because again, I'm now willing and ready to step into this new phase, is I have a webinar coming up called Building Health and Wealth.
Yay.
And that is on November 12th. At 5 p.m. Pacific time, 8 p.m. Eastern time. And there are 3 free gifts that you can get if you come on the webinar live. Of course, you can sign up and get the replay afterwards. But if you come on live, you get questions answered that you wouldn't otherwise. Although you can submit a question via email. But I'm really passionate about wanting to take this intuitive process into all aspects of life and live from integrity. Lead with abundance, not scarcity. Focus on collaboration, not competition. And I'll say that from a place of, I would not be offended or hurt, so to speak, if they were like, oh no, I really love Devi and she feels like the right person for me. That's great.
And vice versa.
And that's why we're having this conversation, because I'm not the only person in the world. And so if I can't reach you, if I'm not the right person for you, I'm so okay with that. But Devi might be. And I want to put people in front of you who would be someone I feel integrity with. And I'm not handing you over to someone who I think doesn't lead with light and doesn't lead with intuition and doesn't lead with, a really big purpose and filled with love and abundance. So if you're interested in that webinar, you can go to jjflazanes.com/build wealth. I believe it's Build Wealth. There will be a link in the show notes. Build Wealth. Yeah. jjflazanes.com/build wealth. And hopefully I'll see you. And if not, you can just email me or find me on social media and I'll link you to it. Definitely the link is on my Instagram page and it's on my Facebook page. And so I'd love you all to join that. And then from there, I'm going to kick off launching a show called Health and Wealth that I've been working on for a year.
Yay. More shows.
Yeah. Exciting. But I wanted to have this conversation. It felt like there's so many business leaders, even today and yesterday. How many people have we heard from? And everyone's been wonderful and great, but everyone's been very different. And I just want to remind you that at the end of the day, your path and your journey comes from whatever feels right to you and for you. And the path will unfold. And being like, this is why I love law of attraction and leverage, is because it acknowledges that you have it from the place of being clairsentient, clairaudient, clairvoyant, and the rest of us who aren't as Claire, but we are strong in our intuition. We allow ourselves to be guided by either those that came before us or our higher self, which is bigger than who we are here on this planet, physically focused. So why work so hard? Why not just take the cue, be in alignment, and then be led in the right way for you? And that isn't going to go against your intuition. It's not going to go against your design. It's not going to go against your calling and your heart-centeredness and the path that's being unfolded for you. So with that,
can I say one more?
Yeah, of course.
So all I would say is this: clarity. Speaking of Claire, really does come from following that intuition and being in your truth center and making that a practice. So I really hope that you'll do that. And I do believe right now we are at a time on our planet when we're each being called to express that beautiful and radiant voice of your soul in service to humanity, and that our collective leadership is what's going to make a difference in the world. So if there is some part of your soul's voice that is speaking to you and you're feeling it in your truth center, get supported, get in conversation, and start to express that, because it's a gift and humanity is waiting for you.
Perfect. All right, everyone. Light and love to all of you.